What is up? Welcome back to Don't Quote Us Sports, the podcast with bold takes, bad stats, and zero accountability. We've got a jam-packed episode for you today, so buckle up. First up, the Thunder and Panthers both take commanding 3-2 leads in their series. Are these the future champs in their leagues, or are we getting too ahead of ourselves again? We break down some shocking trades from this weekend. Desmond Bane got traded for how many picks? And somehow Rafael is out here being valued like a clearance bin souvenir. We've got thoughts. The U.S. Open delivered one of the most dramatic final rounds we've seen in years. And finally, we wrap up our AFC North preview with a deep dive into two of the league's most chaotic franchises, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. Who's ready to break through and who's destined for dysfunction? I think that one's a pretty easy one to answer. It's a wild one. Let's get into it. Herb, Big Rob, how we doing today, fellas?
What's up, boys? How's it
What's
going?
up? Back for another episode. Wild week of sports. Let's talk sports, boys. Let's talk ball.
We're back, baby.
Yeah, it was nice after our episode last week where we had like nothing to talk about, and now I feel like there's a ton to talk about in today's episode. So I figure we'll just jump right into it. Start NBA Finals because that's where we tend to start. But fellas, I hate to say it, but I think this one is over. Thunder take the 3-2 lead last night with the fourth quarter comeback. SGA takes over that game, shows why he's the best player on the court, and between Halliburton's injury, primarily Halliburton's injury, it just feels like the Cinderella story is coming to an end for the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, it's not far off my prediction I think I had a few weeks ago on how it was going to go. I just wanted it to be a decent fight. But in regards to the game, I do want Indiana to try to pull at least another game out of it and make it a 7-game series. But last night, I mean, I think Halliburton was in the locker room for a good minute, multiple minutes. He came out today, it was a calf injury of some sort, and he kind of just played through it. But comes down to it, I mean, I think when he went out, he had 0 points, and when he came back in, I think he finished the game with 4 points. So was him being out there doing more harm than good? I mean, that's up for discussion. But last night, the glooming story, and I think the glooming story of this series is these role players kind of doing things, whether it's Caruso, which obviously you guys saw the bets that we had yesterday. I had faith in Caruso to kind of have another big game last night. That didn't happen. But Jalen Williams did, and Jalen Williams went for 40 points last night, which is huge for him as an NBA player. To do that in the finals game, it's nothing to spat at. And then from the Pacers side, I mean, there was just no one to pick up that momentum. I mean, Siakam had a nice game, but outside of that, it was pretty sparingly. So I think the writing's on the wall. It seems like Shea's here to stay. He's having a phenomenal playoffs. I know I sent you guys to that group chat the other day about most 30 points and 10 something crazy where he was leading, LeBron and Jordan in that category. So shout out to OKC. I think they win it. I just don't think the Pacers have that offense. They have that defense, and believe me, this series, the defense we've seen in this series has been great, whether it's from Caruso to some of the other guys. But I think the offensive firepower that OKC has, I just don't think, Indiana can hold it any longer. It's like a dam, and once it kind of goes, it goes.
Dude, it's the Pacers. I think, Rob, you're right. That Halliburton thing, like if you're not 100%, get your ass off the court because you're not going to help. He played 34 minutes still in that game, and he was out there. I mean, he picked up on the rebounds and assists a little bit in the second half, but, like, he was ineffective. Get out of the way, Hallie. Know when you're good, know when you're not. And then as for the role players, Siakam, that's my guy. I've been riding with Siakam, played a great game. Dude, where is Obi Toppin, right? Where is Mathurin? Why can't Matherin be more consistent and give us double-digit points every game? I get that he was a little more limited.
Matherin actually lost some. What was that? Would have been game 4, where he missed like 3 free throw attempts at the end of the game, and then had 2 terrible fouls, off ball fouls. Pretty much sealed that one for OKC. But
It feels
continue.
like the stage all of a sudden got way too big after game 1. Like it felt like the lights got way too bright. Like you got to play a couple games at home. Come alive in the nighttime, for the love of God. I mean, the role players, Pacers play a team offense, so the role players have to get going. They also shot terribly compared to I think OKC shot like 43% from the field and 45% from 3. Well, you play great defense. Where was that? And the Hallie thing is just so damn frustrating. Dude, get out of the way if you can't go, because you are in the way now. Let McConnell go out and run the point. Fuck it. Like, yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand it. If you're hurt, get off the court. Because 4 points from your superstar. I was sitting here singing his praises not 2 weeks ago. And then he goes out there and does that. If you're hurt, get off the court, man. And hey, Rob, to your take about Halliburton over Brunson, and it's not even close. Oh, this series just kind of pushed it maybe the other way. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, Hallie's been, even despite the injury, Hallie.
Who's in the finals?
I get it. Who somewhat embarrassed themselves last night? Tyrese Halliburton.
Hey, but Brunson's in Cancun, brother.
I get that. And if you ask the New York Knicks, it's Thibodeau's fault. So.
I mean,
So there was one thing I've been thinking about in terms of these NBA finals, and it's more so the Indiana Pacers. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on it, because I think we can all agree none of us expected Indiana to make the finals this year. No shot in hell, right? So now the fact that they've made the finals, last year they made the Eastern Conference Finals, how does this impact their direction moving forward? Because they're actually in a really good spot when it comes to salary cap. I believe they are one of the few teams that are below both aprons at this point. They got about 20 million in cap space going into this off season. But I just wanted to get your thoughts. Do you think that they're a piece away still, and that they should be making a run for a championship right now? Because to me, it feels very similar to when the Atlanta Hawks like randomly made the Eastern Conference Finals a couple years back with Trae Young, and then everybody's like, "Oh, the Hawks are up and coming," and then they just completely became irrelevant ever since.
Yeah, I think the Pacers, that should be a very real concern that they're going to follow that arc. It's nice to hear that, hey, they're going to bring back a huge core of their guys and they've got money to spend. What's the position of need? What's going to take the next step?
I think the answer for that one, after watching last night's game, has to be some depth scoring, right?
Yeah, I tend to lead the other way with this, just because when you look at their roster, outside of someone like a Miles Turner, and I think TJ McConnell's been in the league a good chunk, 8-9 years probably. Most of their roster has been in the league 2 to 4 years, including Toppin. I think Halliburton's only been in the league 4 years. So to me, it's almost like the window's opening for that. Now, they did luck out this year, making it with obviously the injuries that happened to the Celtics and the Cavaliers just blatantly not showing up because no one had them getting knocked out like they did. So I think they kind of stumbled into the finals, and they're like, hey, we're here. A lot earlier in the window than I think they thought they could do, but it'll be interesting. I do agree. I think they need some scoring. I think the 10, 12 points you're going to get out of those support guys we mentioned earlier is just not enough. I think Siakam's been in the league 10, 12 years. I think, he can go out and get you 20, but when you see Shea and Jalen Williams take over the game like they did last night, don't see anyone doing that for Indiana. I don't know if that's vet scoring they go get, but I wouldn't say the window's. I just think it's opening with that young roster unless something blows it up.
Do
But
you,
So they're calling Bradley Beal or what? They're calling the Suns and saying, "Hey, let me get this pure scorer, this all-timer or what?"
I fucking hope so. I fucking hope so.
Hey, they'll trade you a Snickers bar, 2 Twinkies, and the
Hey.
TV out of the players' lounge.
You
They'll
can
go
have
get
them,
you
bro.
that.
Give me a couple tickets to the game, and you can have them, bro. That's all I want.
Hey, a firm handshake, and we're done here. You know.
So I'll be honest, and I don't know if you guys agree with me on this or not. I don't know if Halliburton is good enough to be the number one on a championship team. I don't even know if he is good enough to be a number two on a
Yeah.
championship.
Wow.
It's close to me. It's close to me. I can see.
I don't know if I'm gonna let
Disrespect,
that
bro.
I can
fly.
see the argument for it, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, do we really think he has that next step in superstardom where he can? Because we've seen it multiple times now this postseason where he will just disappear. And I know there's been injuries and whatever else, but if he hasn't had those game winners throughout this postseason, the conversation around him would be a whole lot different, in my opinion. And I feel like it's kind of bailing him out a little bit in the grand scheme of everything to make up for. Now we're going on at least 3 or 4 just disappearances throughout these NBA finals, you know? So right now I probably have him as a for sure, a top 20, maybe top 15 player in this league. Can he get to top 10, top 5? I don't know. I don't think he can, honestly, unless he becomes a really good scorer and learns how to take over games. But
Yeah, I definitely see your point, Isaiah. As far as even as a Halliburton fan, I don't think he should be or flourish as well if he's the number one guy. Um, I just wish that the shooting guard of old age was still there, of somebody they can go get, that Halliburton can truly play the one and let a nice shooting guard that's going to go get him 25, 30. I just think we would see a better Halliburton that way. Yeah, is he going to shoot some threes and make them and, get you 20 something sometimes? Sure. But it's what he does that's not included in that, which is like the assists, the rebounds, kind of an all well-rounded point guard. But I don't think Miles Turner or Siakam is that player for them. I think those are great guys, sure. All-stars, sure. But I don't think I don't think there's a pure scorer on that roster. Some guy that is going to go out and get you 30. I just don't see it.
he needs like his Klay Thompson, like Steph Curry. Like he needs his Klay Thompson, where he's not much of a ball handler per se, but you give that man the rock in the corner or on a spot up 3, he's drilling that shit 40-45% of the time, and you can probably count on him for 20 points. And we'll get into it in a little bit, but like even Desmond Bane could have made a lot of sense. Just really good shooter on the outside, who also, with Ja being out the last couple of years, has increased his ball handling a little bit. Could have been really interesting in Indiana, but I agree with you, Rob. I think that would be the direction that they have to head in, where to get to that next level, if there is a next level for this team, you got to find a bucket. You got to find a dude that can go out there and dictate an offense if needed, and score at will. I just don't know off the top of my head who that could be.
And I don't think it has to. Like, I think they could go out and get a young dude. And truthfully, Rob and I are super high on this guy I'm about to mention. And Isaiah, you might think we're smoking crack, but
if you say who I think you're about to say, I might
Boogie Cousins.
He's
like, Rob and I are super high on this guy.
It's not Boogie, but the Los Angeles Lakers were more than happy to move Dalton Connect off their roster in a big hurry. Just 2 months after they drafted him. I think Dalton Connect is in the right system, in a team system, is going to be a bucket one day. So for a decent price, Go get him. Let him develop. Let him learn how to score. Let him learn how to play Pacers team offense. I think that's a shooter that they could really, really benefit from adding. And he's super young. I mean, the future of the pairing of potential Halliburton Connect, and then you throw Neesmith in there. I mean, that changes the dynamic in a big way. And that I might be talking crazy.
I actually,
I
now that
do.
you said that,
Go ahead.
2 names popped into my head. You have, shoot, am I really gonna forget them now? No, Kobe White from the Bulls, because it sounds like he potentially is on the block this offseason. And
He is.
I know he's been more of a 6-man in recent years, but that dude has developed as a very good scorer.
He's a walking bucket.
And can also handle some ball handling if necessary, so Hallie can be on the bench. And then the other one, not as like convinced on the fit, but CJ McCollum, it just seems like he's kind of rotting down there in New Orleans, but he's always kind of been, again, really good shooter, and also can handle some of the load with the ball handling and whatnot. But those are the 2 names that I think could be likely possibilities. Maybe not to the Pacers per se, but in general this offseason.
Yeah, we've had in-depth conversations on Dalton Connect. I think he's grown on me a lot, all the way from college to the Lakers. I think he spreads the floor a lot. When he's on the floor, you can see flashes of this guy can play in this league. It's just during the playoffs and after that trade, it just got weird for the Lakers, and it didn't feel like he saw the floor much after that. Which
they buried him on the end of that bench, dude. They buried him. Bronny was getting more ticked than he was.
After a trade, when a team's trying to wash their hands of you, it's like there has to be some animosity there. And I understand it's a business, and I'm sure he gets that. But I think he could fit in somewhere with the Pacers. I mean, I think we're going to see a weird NBA trade-wise and these max deals that are coming up. We might see some players on the moves. I mean, speaking of the Lakers, I think Austin Reeves is probably going to get a max deal somewhere.
Could you imagine that pairing?
Some say he's earned it. Some say he strives in that offense or with JJ. But I think we're going to see some players like that get these. We're going to see some crazy max deals here in the next few years that are going to kind of shake some people.
Okay, and then on the flip side, the last thing I wanted to bring up with these finals, and this is just more of a just to tell you guys, because I was curious of it, because we've been talking about how young OKC is and will be for the foreseeable future. So their weighted average age of this team, so it's based on like minutes that their key players are playing, is just under 24 years old, 23.92. If we compare that to NBA history, that would be the youngest team to ever win an NBA championship based off weighted age, besting the 1976-77 Trailblazers. But I'm looking at this top 10 list right now, and these are all teams that played in the 50s for the most part. There's 3 teams from the 70s, early 80s, and then the most recent example was that first Golden State championship, 2014-2015, where their average age was 26. Just to kind of put that into perspective for you guys of how historical this championship, if, knock on wood, if OKC pulls this off, would be in the history of the NBA.
I told you what, 2-3 weeks ago? The Oklahoma City Thunder are this generation's Warriors. It's happening. We as NBA fans have to accept that. These dudes are locked in for 3 to 4 years. OKC is a problem, and the road to the finals, to hoisting the trophy at the end of the year, it's going to go through KC for the next, 5 years straight. I'm betting they're back 4 out of the next 5 years. That's insane that they're that young.
I think we've seen it a little bit. I wonder if it's a shift in sports, NFL in particular. We've seen a lot of really young teams in the NFL go deep in the playoffs in the last few years. I don't know if it's a shifting of the guard Seeing all these players retire from the NBA and NFL. If it's fresh legs, if it's these players starting earlier, right? A lot of these people are playing AAU and earlier, it seems like. But a lot of these players can come in the league and drop 20, 25 easily. It's weird, man. OKC, I don't know if I can go as far as say the West is going to run through them. Just because I don't know how I don't know how Chet's going to develop, how that team's going to develop as a whole since they're so young, but they can definitely be back.
Chet's here already, bro. Chet's here. Like, he's only going to continue to get better. Chet is here, dude. He's a fucking problem. And you pair him with Hartens, he's a fucking problem.
I don't know about a problem.
Hey, Chet Holmgren is everything you guys wish that Bol was going to be. Chet is here. Chet is only going to get better, and Hartenstein only makes him better. Dude, you want to talk about, like, the best offseason move, in my opinion, was OKC going out and getting Hartenstein and stealing him from
getting Caruso. I would say was a better move than Hartenstein.
I think Caruso might be close, and I like the Hartenstein deal.
The Caruso thing helped you out in the last round in a big way.
Plus,
I'll give you that.
You do need a veteran on that roster. And
Hartenstein, baby.
Dude, even he's only like 27, 28, I think.
Ben doing it. Been playing pro ball since he was like 15.
Also black, by the way, if you didn't know.
We did hear about that.
I did not know that. I think he was on the Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson's podcast, and I saw a clip of it. And Josh Hart just looks at him and is like, You're black? And yeah, that threw me off.
That was a shocking revelation for about a week. And it was just like, all right, cool. All right, man, welcome to the club.
Go off. Okay, guys, anything else on the NBA Finals you want to touch on?
I mean, nope. I just hope it goes 7 games. OKC will probably win it, but let's see a couple more good games to wrap up the season. That's what I'm hoping for.
I want a game winner, game 7. I want a buzzer beater, bang, from Breen. Just a bang.
Oh, I do. I do have one thing to add. It's kind of a follow-up of a prior episode, but it looks like the NBA did listen and that they showed the pregame intros. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it obviously wasn't 90s kind of Bulls intro-esque, but they did show the intros on TV last night. So I know it seemed like common sense of what the fans wanted, but it sounds like, Silver's listening a little bit, giving the fans what they want.
Have they fixed that court yet?
It's still the digital image. It still says, I think it says Finals and then YouTube TV right underneath it. It's not that old Finals logo that we want. Yeah, the presentation's still bad, but at least they showed the intro. So take what you can get.
Fair enough.
Okay, guys, let's jump over. NBA news. Might as well just wrap this up before we jump over to the NHL playoffs. Desmond Bane, for those who did not see, over the weekend got traded from the Memphis Grizzlies to the Orlando Magic. And let me pull up, I want to make sure I get this right, the trade package, because
it's insane,
to say the least. Okay, so Desmond Bane was traded for Cole Anthony, a bench player, KCP, role player, expiring contract.
Used to have an ankle monitor.
Played with that ankle monitor.
He played with an ankle monitor. Let's not forget that, all right?
4 first-round picks, number 16 in this upcoming draft, and then unprotected 2026, 2028, and 2030 first-round picks, and then a 2029 first-round pick swap, top 2 protected. And guys, I will be honest, I saw that I got that notification from ESPN, and my jaw dropped. And I don't even know if I should really be surprised at this point when it comes to NBA trades, because it seems like this is just becoming the new norm, where first round picks are just being tossed around like a whore on the corner type of thing.
Whoa.
Jeez.
Dude, that's what it feels like, though. They're just handing these things out willy-nilly for,
Those ladies are hardworking, dude.
like, think about it. There probably has to be 5 to 10 franchises out there that have, out of the next, because they have blocks of 7 years where you can trade your first-round picks, where those franchises don't even have a first-round pick to trade in that time frame, which is crazy, you know? And I also want to make the point of maybe we are valuing first round picks a little bit too much. And I say that the context for that is all we see at a high level sometimes is, oh, 4 first round picks. Crazy. That's crazy. Like that's going to be so cool. But then people fail to remember that a lot of these trades, when a team is trading that amount of first round picks, it's because they don't believe they're going to be bad enough for that pick to be worth jack shit. Anyways, like they're assuming it's going to fall in the back end of the first round at best, right? Obviously, you could have a situation like the 76ers this year and they implode and now it's a top, 6 pick or whatever it is. But in most cases, that doesn't happen. But then in addition to that, a lot of these first round picks, they are throwing so many goddamn protections on them where it's top 5, top 10, for sure lottery protected. So even if the bottom does fall out on that really good team that's trading those first round picks, they're still going to keep that lottery pick if they put the protection on it, like a majority of these first do at this point. So it's like, if you put into the perspective of Desmond Bane, you're getting Cole Anthony, KCP, and then 4 first round picks that are all going to fall between 20 and 30. Am I as like shocked or as floored by that? Not really, I guess. But what are your guys' thoughts or opinions?
Dude, go ahead, Rob. Take it away, please, because I might scream, but I'm gonna let you go ahead.
I think for Isaiah, as far as your point on what the first round pick is even valued at anymore, I'm kind of lost on it because you see these other trades that have happened with Luka and other guys. Desmond Bane, just the player he is, I don't think he has any All Stars, All NBAs, anything like that. I think he averages 18 to 20 points. Sure,
He hasn't even been named to an All-Star team.
So for a player of that caliber, now Luka, obviously, it's like Luka is seen as a superstar and things like that. It's just Desmond is for 4 first-round picks. And now people are talking about the Kevin Durant trade and these other trades that are kind of mixing up. Like I saw something earlier. Like if Giannis gets traded, is he getting 10 first-round picks? Like it's like if Desmond Bane's going for 4, it's like. And the Magic, all season long though, when I did watch the Magic play basketball, I like Paulo. I like what they're doing down there. So for adding Desmond Bane to that offense, I think when I looked at their starting lineup, which I think is Herb's high on the Wagners, Desmond Bane, you have I think Jalen Suggs at point, and then Wendell Carter at center, and obviously Paulo at power forward. I think they're doing something nice down there, but did they really have to give up 4 first-round picks to get Desmond Bane? I don't know, man. Now, as far as throwing away KCP and Cole, what was the other one? Cole Anthony, right?
Yeah.
Which is obviously Greg Anthony's son. I think they expected Cole Anthony to come in and be good and be great, but I think Jalen Suggs is just trying to take that role from him at point guard. So the KCP and Cole, I just think they were kind of throw-ins. But the 4 first-round picks is just instrumental because I think that just resets everything. I mean, what's KD at his age going to go for? I think
Not nearly as
much. Luka technically went for Anthony Davis and I think 1 first-round pick. It's like
okay, we cannot be using Luka trade as any sort of measuring stick because Nico Harrison was smoking crack cocaine when he was on that phone call.
There's a good chance. There's a good chance that was happening behind closed doors.
But
he was just hanging with the homies and went, "Hey, you think they'll go for it? Let's see." That's what happened.
He said, "You saw Luka play defense, right?" And then the rest of the office was like, yeah. He's like, all right, let's
No,
do
I
it.
think it was more so like he was
That's
having
fucking
like he was having a super personal conversation with Palinka from LA. He's like, kind of how like, not me personally, I respect women, but there's some dudes like, do you think
What are we
that girl
doing?
over there is kind of fat? Do you think he's kind of fat? And he was just waiting for like Rob Palinka to be like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, he is really fat. You know, why don't I take him off your hands? Like, you shouldn't have to bother yourself with that. You know, that's how I feel like
That's
it
what-
went like.
That might be the wildest analogy to date. And please, for the love of God, do not quote us, please. But that might be the most awkward analogy.
Yeah, you're right. I
Yeah.
probably could have phrased that a whole lot better than I did. But I think the point still stands of what I was trying to get at with it.
I mean, we just lost an entire market. Thank you.
Hey, I looked at the demographics on our podcast listens, and don't worry, 95% of our listening viewership are males between the age of 24 and 35. So we're good.
I don't
even worry about it.
Hey, shout out to the 2 women that gave us a listen. We appreciate it.
And I believe that's
We love
either
you.
My wife, my mom, my sister, or Herb's sister or mom, most likely.
You got good chance. Good chance. So, Mom, if you're listening, Isaiah came up with that on his own. I had no piece in that. Thank you very much.
But going back to Rob's point, I will say, if we do take the compensation element out of this trade, from an Orlando Magic perspective, this trade makes so much sense for them, because you want to guess where they finished in terms of made 3-pointers and 3-point percentage last season?
Dead last.
Dead fucking last. And you know who one of the best shooters in the NBA currently is?
I've got a feeling you're going to tell us.
Desmond motherfucking Bane, who is,
Yes, there it is.
ever since coming into the league, I believe it was the COVID year, he has made over 800 threes, shot over 40%, I want to say in every season he's played. And last season itself, on catch and shoot threes, he was damn near 45% made. So I will give Orlando credit. They understood where their hole was, where their weakness was, and they went and addressed it. So as a sports fan, if I was an Orlando Magic fan, I can get excited about that deal. And I'd rather, the 4 first-round picks is hard to swallow, but I'd rather have an ownership group that's willing to go out and make an aggressive move like that, knowing that you're pretty confident in Paulo and Wagner as your kind of best players, to go out and get that piece that you think could take you to that next level. Whether or not it works, who knows? I was kind of in the same boat when it came to the Rudy Gobert trade a couple years back. Like, it was,
How'd that work out for you?
Hey, two Western Conference Finals. So what?
Hey, you know that 2/3 of this podcast thinks Rudy Gobert might be the most washed guy in the NBA, right?
You do realize he's been on a team that's made the Western Conference Finals for the last 2 years and won a Defensive Player of the Year award last season.
Yeah,
I
he
think
just
they
doesn't
kinda
know what to do with the
gifted that.
basketball.
Okay, get back to the point here.
Lost.
Get back to the point.
So you want to know what I think about this
Hit
trade?
me.
Y'all want to hear this? I think whoever the fuck is running the Orlando Magic has a very odd view of his team. While I agree with you, they're young and exciting and they're developing. Are they Desmond Bane away from making a run in the playoffs? No, they're not. They're not even close to being a Desmond Bane away, to be honest with you. I like what they're doing. I think they're still developing. Desmond Bane, for me, does not put the Orlando Magic over the top. So what I have to say if I'm an Orlando Magic fan is, what the fuck are we doing? Okay, and that's no disrespect to Desmond Bane. I hope we're sitting here a year from now talking about, Desmond Bane went off, dude. First team All-Pro. Holy cow. AJ, you were a fucking clown. I got a weird feeling that ain't going to happen. That's from the Magic side. Were you one player away? No, you're not. And you just leveraged your future. On the other side, on the Grizzlies side, I think this signals the Grizzlies are going full rebuild. I think that's coming sooner than later, and I think it's something that needs to happen.
The reports out of Memphis are saying the opposite. They're saying like this frees up money now for them to give Jaren Jackson Jr. his extension now, supposedly.
Cool. So you have Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson, and that's it.
Zach Edey, baby.
Oh yeah, Zach Edey.
Don't forget about Jalen Wells. He was pretty decent.
Guys, that's not a playoff roster, and we all know it. Okay, it's not even close to a playoff roster. The Memphis Grizzlies at this point owe it to Jaren Jackson Jr. to trade him. And I saw a report came out that the Knicks are very interested in pairing him with Cat, which gets interesting in terms of a rebuild for the Grizzlies as well as the dynamic of the Knicks. I love Jaren Jackson Jr. He's been one of my favorite players since he came into the league, even though he's a Michigan State guy. I'll give it to him. I think they owe it to him to let him get the hell out of Memphis. And as for Ja Morant, I can't stand Ja Morant. I think Ja Morant's a goofy motherfucker that has pissed away an opportunity that a million kids would give a leg for. You're not going to get much for Ja at this point because of all the other bullshit that comes along with Ja Morant, but you're going to get a first-rounder for him in there. You're going to get picks. I think this just signals a rebuild. And Memphis, just do it now. Because what you're going to do is you're going to bring in some vets. You're going to have KCP out there. It's going to be ugly. I don't think it's going to go well. Why put off the inevitable at this point? So I hope the Grizzlies send it. Go for the worst team in the league next year. Rebuild that thing and be great because Memphis basketball's fun, man. It's just not been very fun the last 2 years.
The final thing I'll add before we move on is you guys kind of have opposite takes on kind of who won the trade. It seems like I think the Grizzlies won that trade by a mile, and I think they knew that Desmond Bane wasn't the guy that was going to put them over the edge to get there. But if they can get 4 first-round picks out of that, that seems like a win all around over there. And as far as the Magic, the thing that I like what the Magic are doing, like you are, Isaiah, but also it takes 1 or 2 of those players not to agree to an extension, and all of a sudden you have no first-round picks in the next few years. It just takes one little hiccup to fuck up that whole plan. So if everyone's not on the same page, you just start dishing away first-round picks for a guy that has no All-NBA nods or All-Stars. Sure, he can shoot the rock. There's a lot of guys that can shoot the rock, but it's like, was he worth 4 first-round picks? TBD. As far as rebuild, I don't know what Memphis is doing, man. They got rid of Marcus Smart, which say what you want about him, but he obviously played defense. They moved on from him quickly after the Celtics. I don't know what where the direction is in Memphis right now, because obviously with all the Ja Morant troubles, because I mean Ja Morant was on the path of, some say on the path that Shea is right now if he didn't fuck up. I mean, just the explosive play style he had a year or two ago. Before he messed up that shoulder, before he started throwing grenades at the crowd. He definitely had potential, but I don't know what's going on in Memphis.
He had such a Derrick Rose arc, before the Derrick Rose pre-injury. Like, he played like him, but he could shoot even better. Ja
explosive,
fucked that whole thing up.
Fun to watch.
He fucked that up 7 ways to Sunday.
Yeah. Hopefully he bounces back, but it's not obviously looking great.
And the funny thing with all this being said is this might not even be the worst trade we saw from over this weekend. And I feel like this is a great parlay into it. Rafael Devers is no longer a Boston Red Sox. And on top of that, Boston chose to trade one of the best hitters in baseball for pennies on the dollar. Rob Erb.
Hey, he got traded for a copy machine, and I don't want my guys paying for soda in the clubhouse anymore. That's what he got fucking traded for.
So for those who are not aware, so Devers was traded to San Francisco in return for Jordan Hicks, who has an ERA over 6 this season and is currently on the IL. Kyle Harrison, who is a former top pitching prospect for the Giants, who has not been able to figure it out in the majors yet. I believe he has an ERA approaching 5 currently. They get James Tibbs, who was the Giants' first round pick last year out of Florida State. He was their number 4th rated prospect. And then an unranked prospect named Jose Bello. I think he's playing in either low or high A baseball. So that's a crapshoot on whether or not he turns into anything. But the real reason you have to think Boston's making this trade is because they got into the second year of that extension that they just signed him to, and they were just like, fuck this. I do not want to be paying this lug of nuts, full-time DH, who has, like, I didn't have much of an opinion on Devers coming into this season, but he seems like a locker room cancer at this point with the way that he is operating in the media this season. So I think that most likely is the primary reason that they are trading him, but the timing of it all and the packet, like even if you did want to trade him, I feel like you could leverage his value a little bit more. You should be getting more for a hitter of that caliber.
I get what you're saying. Okay. This was very, very clearly. This all started in the offseason when the Red Sox acquired Bregman, right? One of the best third basemen in the league, if not the best third baseman in the league.
From a defensive standpoint.
I mean, he ain't hitting real bad either right now.
Yeah.
He's hitting like 300 with 11 homers.
Yeah, the last couple.
I'm not mad about that.
Last couple years, he had kind of regressed a little bit, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So he comes in. Devers throws this attitude about I'm a third baseman. Guess what? You're fat. You're short. I don't know what to tell you. You can clobber the ball. Either learn how to play catcher, which good luck, or go play first base and be successful and be an all-star at first base. I think the Red Sox were so fed up with Devers' attitude about everything. Now, his production, as of late was crazy good. So I think that's why there was the trade talks to begin with. But to trade him for what they got, I mean, you look at these guys. I don't know how much you guys have dove into who these guys are, but let me break this down for you. Jordan Hicks is a failed starter in the MLB, a decent pitcher. Don't get me wrong. Like, when his stuff is on, he is a decent pitcher. But he's a failed starter. At best, he's a middle reliever.
Hey, he was kind of a baller, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't he kind of a flamethrower for the Cardinals for a couple seasons?
Yeah, but that arm doesn't have the juice that it once did by any means.
He's not pumping 103 anymore?
No.
Gotcha. Okay.
No. So, at best, he's a middle reliever. Congrats on that. Kyle Harrison's one hung curveball at Fenway away from playing for the fucking Bay Sox in AAA. James Tibbs, former first-round pick last year. He's the best player that you're getting. And Jose Bello, you said what? He's playing rookie A-ball?
Yep.
Right? I mean, you're talking about one of the best hitters. Good for the Giants. I mean, you gave up – truthfully, you traded James Tibbs for Rafael Devers. That's a massive upgrade if you're planning on winning, being competitive this year or next year. Tibbs is going to be a phenomenal player provided his development continues. But I think they immediately optioned Harrison down to AAA, to be honest with you, now that I think about it, which is like, that's a bad look. So none of these guys are going to be playing a game for you in the next 2-3 weeks. And the only one who's got any real prospect to do so is Hicks. So, like, for Boston, does this help you win? No, not right now. I don't even know if it helps you win in the future, but I get why you traded Devers. I just think you could have got a hell of a lot more, some real rated prospects. So, good for the Giants, man.
I'll give my takes on it, too. As we all know, I'm not totally tuned into baseball, I'm not glued to the TV as of right now, but I did do some research, and I think I'm with both of you guys on this. It seemed like the Red Sox brought Bregman in. Obviously, that moves Devers from third. I think their first baseman got injured. I think it was a tore pec or some shit. They asked him to play first. He said no. And then all you have left is your designated hitter. And so do you want to pay your designated hitter 300 plus million? And I agree with Isaiah. Everything I read was the locker room, the media, everything was just a fucking nightmare. And when you talk about team chemistry and the morale and things like that, and I think it was more of not what they can get in return, but who was going to take on. I think who took him, the Giants taking him, they took over 280 million of that contract. So when you start seeing these massive deals that we're seeing these last year, 2-3 years, when that goes south, you're not going to get much out of those players in return if a team's taking on that monster contract. And I also don't blame the Red Sox. If you have a guy that's a locker room cancer that doesn't want to play another position, so you're paying a designated hitter 300 plus million, I think that's just a hard pill to swallow. And from some Red Sox forums, I mean, it didn't seem like they were upset. They just want to know how that GM is going to allocate that 280 million that they kind of relieved up. So is he going to go out and get some guys that are going to be on the field and not just designated and hidden? I have no idea. But I don't read in too much into who they grabbed. I think those are probably just throw-ins, and it was more of a call to MLB who wants to take over this fucking contract. And they called, they answered, and then that's kind of how the trade went down.
In fairness, and you guys might not have seen it, and I can see if I can pull it after this recording, but I did see the Devers, this graph from Fangraphs where it plotted his contract value to his WAR that he is expected to produce through the life of that contract. And I'll be honest, that Fangraphs chart was not pretty to look at. They think that Devers he might have a couple of good seasons left, but especially if he ends up moving full time to DH, he is going to not be returning the value for what he is being paid the tail end or the second half of that contract. It's going to be a la Albert Pujols type thing. But at least Pujols played first base. I will say I do think it's absolutely hysterical. Devers gets up there and does his introduction press conference today, and they're immediately talking about him playing first base after.
Yeah, he's not going to have a say in it anymore.
So I think it just is a perfect encapsulation of the new GM for Boston was just like, fuck it. You're either a team guy or you're not. And we are building for a team, a group of players that will rally around each other and do what is best for the team to win games. And if you're not going to be that, then you can get the hell out of here. We don't need you, in the long term, whether or not it ends up working out for them, I don't know. It for sure doesn't help them this season. But with all these young guys that are calling up, their window is probably in a couple seasons anyways. Probably when Devers was going to start showing decline, right? And if he was going to be declining as a full-time DH, I feel like you can better fill that position with somebody else.
Yeah, and they got a brand new copy machine out of the whole thing, so good for Boston.
Is this how it went in Moneyball? I don't remember.
Yeah, they traded.
It's pretty close.
They traded. I think it was Jeremy Giambi. I think they traded him, and part of the deal, allegedly, at least in the movie, and I don't know if it's 100% true, but God, I hope it is. The Oakland A's back then had to pay for their soda out of the vending machine, and so I'm fairly certain that one of the terms of the agreement in that trade was that the other team paid for a year's worth of soda for the Oakland A's.
In fairness, when comparing those two, we're comparing the poverty former Oakland Athletics to a team in the Boston Red Sox that was had the highest payroll just a couple seasons ago. So,
Yep.
yeah, if there is any team that's willing to bite that contract or eat that contract, you would think it would be a team like Boston. But here they are once again, being cheapskates. Okay, now we can finally get into the NHL Finals, where I know when we talked NBA Finals, stated that 3-2 Thunder lead, probably that series is over. I am willing to say right now that Florida, I think the game's going on right now, but Florida has won the Stanley Cup. I am handing out Lord Stanley to them right now for them to hoist. It is done.
You want a live update?
Yeah, let's hear it.
2-0, end of the first.
Panthers?
Florida.
Yep. There you go. I just can't see them losing at home tonight.
No, I don't think so either. And I was hoping for 7. I made the claim, I think it was episode 1 or maybe before we even started actually recording these things, that they were going back-to-back, and they may even be a three-peater next year. They bring back a huge core of their guys. A lot of the guys they'll be losing are older. They can sign them to 1 years, try to run this thing back again. I do think it's going to be Florida hoisting the trophy at home tonight again against Edmonton. I don't know how much you guys follow their roster shape-ups up there in Edmonton. And I won't say much more about the game because, again, I think it's probably over. It's been an electric series. It's been fun, but it's over. I made a comment about McDavid and how I fear that they may never get back to this. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
I did a breakdown of their roster and some of their contracts and kind of looking at, is this going to be the Stanley Cup Finals for the next year or 2 or 3? Edmonton's in a bad spot. And I mean a bad spot. So let me run through their roster, how their contracts are set up, and who they're scheduled to lose after this game tonight. All right? McDavid is an unrestricted free agent after this game tonight.
Okay.
Or once it opens up. Now, we all know they're going to re-sign him, right? That's a given. They'd be dumber than hell if they didn't. Evander Kane, who, granted, hasn't done much for you, but he does have a goal in the series. He's still an enforcer in some sense. He's gone. He's also up there in age. Corey Perry, 40 years old. Perry's kind of a prima donna at 40, which is wild, but he's gone. Skinner and is it Deckard, right? The backup goalie that they threw in there? Pickard, excuse me. They're both free agents after this game.
Maybe that's a good thing though.
Probably. Ekholm, though, free agent, age issue. Brown, free agent. He's up there in age. If you're Edmonton, you got to be like, oh, shit, we just missed our window for 2 years straight. I fear that Connor McDavid, as an Edmonton Oiler, which he's going to sign probably a 10-year contract with him.
Max contract in NHL is 8 years, by the way.
8. But I fear that McDavid may never get back to having a chance to hoist the cup. And that hurts being an NHL fan because he's one of those guys that I think deserves it. And listen, 8 years from now, he might be on the team and they might have some young studs and things. But as it sits right now, Edmonton is in a terrible, terrible position. A terrible position next year. I mean, most of these guys, if not all of them, are over the age of 32 years old. You're going to bring them back? No, you're not. And they're all going to want to get paid, too, because they were in the Cup Finals for 2 years straight.
It's going to be a pretty similar situation for McDavid. I agree with you, where these last 2 years might have been his best opportunities to win a cup for the foreseeable future. So it really feels like he's going to follow an Alexander Ovechkin kind of career arc where hopefully later in his career he's able to just quote unquote steal one. But yeah, it does not look great up there in Edmonton, because if you look at his contract right now that he's about to complete, dude, he was it was such a deal. I think he was making less than
Mm-hmm.
like 13 mil or something. And granted, the highest paid NHL players are making 14.5 or something. It's not a lot compared to other sports, but when the best player in the face of the planet, in this generation, is making $2 million less than the highest paid player, you're getting a crazy value on that one, which I doubt you're going to be getting whenever he re-signs. But
And he's gonna reset the market, which is super cool to hear. But I tell you what, I'd rather be making $2 million less than the highest paid guy and playing for the cup every other year or every 3 years than making 17, 18 million.
that was the interesting thing that you see what Biznasty said, Paul Bissonnette said on the.
I didn't see that.
So they had
On Chicklets?
Yeah, from Chicklets, but it was when he was on the TMT broadcast. They had Gary Bettman, the NHL commissioner, on there for pregame or one of the intermissions, and he posed the question of talking about, because Florida's about to win their second straight. You have the Lightning, who just won 2 straight a couple years back. Both of those teams obviously play in Florida, where there's no state income tax. So he posed the question of, is there any kind of plan to address the competitive advantage it gives those teams compared to these teams in Canada or in LA or New York, right? Where if we take Sam Bennett, for example, who's scored 15 goals already in this postseason, he's going to be a free agent this summer. And
Yep.
they've already offered him, I believe it was an 8-year, $7.25 million contract. So about $56 million over the life of it, right? He said no to it. It's obviously going to go up based with the postseason that he's having. Where
he should be 10 million plus,
right.
To be honest with
so you. He easily, if he was to go open market, he would get a 7-year contract, which is the longest that can be given to him by any other team outside of Florida. But it'd for sure be 10 million plus, right? Well, he can re-sign in Florida for 8 years at $8 million, and he'd still probably end up making more over the life of that contract than he would in one of these other markets, you know? So I think it is a fair point to bring up into, like, from a competitive advantage with the hard cap that is the NHL salary cap, like compared to like the MLB or something like that. The salary cap is a facade, like it's not real, you know, like just fly over it. Or in the NBA, right, you can most cases just fly over it, you know, with no problem. But the NHL is a hard cap, and you'd be lying if you say that that's not playing into it, especially with the turns that both those organizations have taken and how well respected they are across the league now, on top of no state income tax and it just being fucking Florida and it being beautiful all the time. He has a good point.
Yeah, no, I get it. But hey, Rob's favorite Rob. This is where you come in, big dog. Hey, what do we think about salary caps?
It's all a fugazi, baby.
It's a fugazi, it's a fugazi, it's a wussy, it's a woozy. It's not fucking real.
So the other thing about this series, there's not a ton that I think we need to talk about here, but what were your thoughts when you heard that Edmonton was switching their goalie in Game 5 out of the blue like that? Like, I get that Stuart Skinner had gone pulled the 2 games previous to that, but we are talking, you're tied 2-2 in this series. You're playing at home, and this is the moment you think we need to make a goalie swap. I was floored when I saw that, and it went about as well as I expected it to. But what were your thoughts on that?
I think that thing that call came from above the coach's head. I think it came from the GM. Is it Knobloch? Is that how you say it? The head coach's name in Edmonton?
Yeah.
I think he's been a Skinner believer. And I think the first 3 games we sat here when we talked about him, the defense was the issue. Skinner was getting beat up out there with no defensive help. I truly think that call came from above. If it did come from the head coach, what a set of balls on that guy. Because holy cow, that is you just don't do it, you know? You just don't do it. And it's – dude, speaking of goalies, both of these teams in the Stanley Cup may be looking at new goaltenders next year, which I don't know if that's ever happened where both teams after the Stanley Cup lose their goalies. You know? And, hey, shout out to Bobrovsky, because this very well could be his last game in professional hockey. I hope it's not. Talk about it, and I think Isaiah, you said it in a previous episode. A dude that just knows how to stand on his head, dude. He, in my opinion, will go down as one of the greatest playoff goalies to ever play the game of hockey. And that's a hot take.
That could be recency bias playing in a little bit, but I do agree.
Could be. I don't know if he's number one.
No, but he's definitely
God,
up
is he
there,
up there?
yeah, with how he's played the last couple of seasons.
So
Specifically.
if this is Sergei's last game, congratulations on a phenomenal career, 2 cup winner.
He definitely seems like a dude that would go finish his career with a couple years in the KHL. I feel like a lot of Russian players do that,
and be an absolute fucking legend in the KHL.
Mm-hmm. So last thing about this series, again, wanted to get your thoughts. How much of the blame are you putting on Connor McDavid for this series loss? And the context of that question is, yes, throughout the entire postseason, he again has scored 30 points. For those listeners that aren't familiar, that is a lot in NHL playoffs. He just became the fastest player to ever score 150 postseason points. But in terms of this Cup Finals, he only has 1 goal. Yeah.
And he is an incredible facilitator of the puck. Draisaitl, the last 2 years just owes everything to McDavid and his ability to get him the puck in the right places at the right time. But, dude, similar to Halliburton. Hey, Connor, where the fuck are you? He's out there. I think he's just dog tired. I don't blame McDavid because it's McDavid, but at some point you got to put puck in the back of the net, dude. You just need to.
In fairness, he does have 7 points in their first 5 games, but yeah, only 1 goal. And especially with a couple of these games where they've ended up losing, you'd like to see him be more aggressive when it comes to putting shots on net.
Dude, if we're banking on Draisaitl to be our entire offense and then Evander Kane to sneak in there, that's not a winning formula. McDavid needed to come out. Honestly, he probably needed a goal a game, which I know is a huge ask, but for his level of play, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibilities for him. So it's a shame. It's a real shame if Connor McDavid never gets one of these. And like I said, I fear he may never.
It's kind of a little payback on his part. Draisaitl only had 1 goal in the finals last year. McDavid returns the favor with only 1 goal this year. It just seems like they get to the finals and they just can't be on the same page, like they are the first 3 rounds.
They even changed their lines tremendously to make sure that Draisaitl and McDavid were on the ice together to try and get them going. And at times, yeah, but it was never McDavid that was the one that got going.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that's all we need on NHL playoffs.
Hey, congrats to the Florida Panthers.
Congrats to them. In other sporting news, U.S. Open wrapped up. Yes, what was that on Sunday? JJ Spahn, am I pronouncing that correct, gentlemen?
Yeah,
Won
close enough.
won the U.S. Open after what had to have been one of the most brutal weekends of golf that we've seen in a long time. So I just have a couple. I'm not gonna lie and pretend like I watched this tournament in detail. I did catch pieces of the final round on Sunday, so I do have a couple thoughts. I will say the first one, it's absolute fucking bullshit that the final round wasn't postponed. That course was fucking atrocious after it started to rain. And on top of that, we all know how hard Oakmont was playing this weekend with the rough and how long it was playing. Throw that into the mix as well, and it's ridiculous, right? Like, I am trying to watch some of the best golfers in the world compete, and now they're playing the conditions more than they're playing the course more than like they're true. Like, you can't see how good of a player they really are, it feels like, um so in addition to that point, Sam Burns got absolutely hosed. That dude got absolutely hosed. So for the listeners not familiar, Sam Burns had a shot on 15. It was right like on the fringe of the fairway, and he goes up to the ball, and you see the ball on the ground, and you can very clearly see that it is just smack dab in a shit ton of water. And he asks two rules officials to see if he can get relief, and you can see him like putting pressure near the ball and just how much water is there. Every single shot, like practice shot he's taking, you're just seeing all the water that he's taken with him, right? And for whatever reason, and I have no idea if it was the correct decision, they don't give him any relief. You know what he does? Next shot, absolutely terrible shot, ends up in the rough, ends up going for at least a bogey, if not a double bogey on that hole. And from there, he was gone. It was mentally, he was just not there anymore. So those were and my last one, JJ's putt to win it from the one
Sick.
angle, one
Sick.
angle that I saw was so dirty.
Oh my God, it bent. Oh, she bent. Oh my God, bro, that putt was insane. He putted it from the angle that I watched it at multiple times. It looked like he putted it to another area code,
Right?
and that son of a bitch came all the way back. Dude, I don't think he thought he was even going to come close to making it.
He didn't need to either.
His
He
reaction.
had two shots to make that.
But why not pull it out and let him know how big it is, Isaiah? Why not pull it out? Come on.
I'll give you guys my take as a casual golf fan watching it, man. I definitely understand from your point, Isaiah, is the weather. I think they did delay it 90 minutes. Obviously, they didn't postpone it. From a casual fan, I like seeing a little adversity out there, man. I know the golfers probably hate it.
The
But
course
everything can't
already
be
gave him
beautiful.
enough adversity. They
I
had
know,
one
I
dude
know.
shoot under par this entire weekend.
It's not like Oakmont's an easy course.
Oakmont was not easy to begin with, but the weather, that putt, obviously, I mean, that shook Twitter. Everyone was going nuts. I think that kind of saved the weekend a little bit. Also, I feel good for the Spawn. His last name's Spawn, right? I think he was 25th in the world. Seems like a good dude. I think he battled Rory for the Players' Championship earlier this year. 25th in the world, I think, in rankings. So he's going to be bumped. I think that if it would have ended kind of bad, that putt, I think, saved the weekend a little bit. It was still kind of terrible. But everyone loves Judd golf, when they go minus 10 and 10 under par and all this stuff. But I don't know, man. Mix one of these in every once in a while. It makes you, if anything, it makes you appreciate, events where it's sunny, 75, and it's as beautiful as places like the Masters. But Oakmont definitely didn't do them any favors. I mean, I'm not a huge golf fan, but seeing some of that rough and shit like that they had planned for that place was kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you guys said it. Oakmont didn't hold up. It wasn't meant to hold up under that much rain. Next year's in Southampton, New York at Shinnecock. Let's pray that the U.S. Open holds up and there's no rain. My takeaways from the whole thing, that putt was incredible. Holy shit, good for you, dude. Did you guys see Rory's blow up on the tee box?
No.
He had a brief moment. So he hit a terrible shot and he turns and he slams his club head down right on the tee box, on the markers on the tee box, and crushed it. Immediately he knew, like, oh God, I can't believe I just did that. And people are calling for Rory. Rory needs to control himself. He should be suspended because it's not the decorum that golf and the U.S. Open demands of the players. I think it was a moment of weakness. Rory being who Rory is and how great he is, which I don't think should take effect, but it does. I'm going to give him a pass. But I want to talk about your boy Sam Burns, Isaiah. Should he have gotten relief? Yes, absolutely. They fucked him. But his actions afterwards, did you guys see the photos and the video of the players' locker room afterwards back in the clubhouse?
Mm-mm.
That was Wyndham Clark, right?
Was that Wyndham? I thought it was Sam.
Yeah, Wyndham went nuts in the locker
Wyndham
room.
did. My apologies. My apologies to Sammy Burns. I had read on Twitter initially that it was Sammy after that whole debacle. So it was Wyndham.
Wyndham went nuts, broke multiple lockers, destructive.
He punched in lockers at Oakmont.
Where did he finish to be punching holes in the lockers?
He did it after he missed the cut. I don't know what day, but
I got to check my Twitter feed. I saw that was Sammy Burns, and I was like, you got to be kidding me, dude.
You got Centel, bro. I think the NBA Centel. You got the PGA version of that. You know what I'm talking about, too, where they put it, and you're like, hell yeah, he did it.
Maybe.
Only reason I know that is I was watching, I think, McAfee earlier, and he was talking about golf fans are super upset. No matter how mad you are, you don't take it. Whether you're mad at Oakmont, mad at whoever, you don't take it out at a locker. You don't take it out on an establishment like that.
Like if you did something like that at the Masters, I don't know that the state of Georgia would you even allow you to drive through the state, let alone be in the state. Like there's a decorum in golf. It is a quote unquote gentleman's game. Wyndham, you can't do it. I'm glad that it wasn't Sam Burns. I'm relieved to hear that, but also Wyndham, like, get your shit together, dude.
It's gonna be really funny if we find out it was Sam Burns.
Oh, then I'm gonna record my own video and absolutely crucify him. He should have got relief. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and the only other thing I'll say on the U.S. Open is and this might just because I'm extremely casual and probably naive golf fan. Is the U.S. Open always supposed to be this difficult, like the course?
Yeah, I mean, it's the U.S. Open. It is one of the most prestigious events on the PGA calendar. Yeah, they pick tough courses intentionally. Nobody expected that much rain, and the course it didn't hold up, plain simple. And I don't think that needs to be a shot at Oakmont Country Club, but some days you go out there and you're playing soup. At some point, you got to overcome it, and just play through it. And JJ proved that.
I will say the cool thing from JJ winning on Sunday is he essentially locked up, from what I read, a spot on the Ryder Cup for I think that's later this year, because he'll be top 6 in points for USA golfers, so he'll automatically get a spot on there. And this is less than a year after he was essentially almost off the tour. Last year, I think it was last year, he was like 150th ranked in the world, and he was very, very close to losing his spot on the tour. But then he had a light bulb moment, started playing some really good golf. He's up to, I think, Rob, you said he was 25th coming into this weekend. Obviously, he's probably going to be top 15 now after winning on Sunday. But you got to feel good for the guy. Like, that's awesome for him. And I kind of love hearing stories like that.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Ryder Cup, most electric golf tournament in the world, in my opinion. Throw that out there.
Yep. I know you guys wanted to talk a little bit of U.S. soccer. I don't have a lot to provide to this conversation, but it sounds like you guys have a clip that you are ready to unload right now.
Rob, you want to give him a little brief backstory on, real brief,
Yeah, I'll give the 411 on it. So every 2 years, let me start off with, I know we haven't talked much soccer, but I want to introduce myself. My first YouTube name when I was 12 years old was USA Soccer Fan XX or something like that. So I've been along for the ride.
Jesus.
Um,
Jesus.
I think I have a Clint Dempsey jersey in my closet. So I wouldn't say I'm a casual. So obviously we all know the World Cup is next year, and USA is hosting that along with obviously Canada and Mexico. And I would say the USA soccer is in one of the best. Before the last couple of weeks, I would say we've been talent wise in one of the best spots that we've been in
Long
my
time.
in my fandom. I mean, I remember the Landon Donovan days and things like that, but just the pure talent we're seeing from some of these young kids coming up and whether overseas or here. But the point of the conversation is that the Gold Cup is currently going on, and the USA roster was announced last week. And that right now, as it sits, I think there was 7, 8 guys, normal starters, if not, see a lot of playing time, that either chose to sit out due to injury or personal reasons. For instance, Christian Pulisic, which is obviously seen as a high regarded captain, plays overseas for AC Milan. Um, he's kind of our Captain America, as some people have portrayed him. Um, Obviously, with Dest, Robinson, and Musa, basically anybody that's anybody is not playing in the Gold Cup right now, which the Gold Cups happens every 2 years. It's kind of a big thing that we've been in and out of, and the championship the last few tournaments. But it's something that obviously the USA greats like Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey have talked about. I don't care whether you're injured, what injury you have. Obviously, if we know about it, sure. But just to sit out tournaments, especially when you're tuning up. Basically, this is a tune up for the World Cup. This is when you're starting to hammer out some of the any quirks that you have, especially under a new coach. This is kind of where you're working all that out before next year, because the World Cup only happens once every 4 years. The only thing I will say with that is there is a Club World Cup going on right now, which some of these players might have prior commitments to their team for that. But that's only, I think, two or three of them. I'm just when you're playing for a national team, whether it's the Olympics, baseball, whatever it is, there's a pride that goes into it. Um, to represent your country, no matter how big or small the tournament is, which the Gold Cup is seen as one of the bigger tournaments, at least for North America. I'm just I thought we took 2 steps forward the last 4 or 5 years, and we just took 3 steps back. I'm embarrassed. I don't know what to think. I mean, if there are true injuries, I respect it, but if none of that's getting released and we're just told that basically these players are sitting out, I'm just kind of ashamed. I mean, at that point, especially with the World Cup so near. I mean, if the World Cup just happened and the guys were trying to battling back from that and had prior commitments to their club, we have 4 years to prepare for the next World Cup. We'll be all right. And to realize that some of these players might never play in a World Cup again. I mean, some of these players, this is their one shot. You see a lot of players get 3 or 4 chances, but a lot of these players do get 1 or 2, a little 8-year window. With that being said, it has started. We did win 5-0 the other day in the first game against Trinidad.
I don't want to count that as like a moral victory here, okay?
No, obviously we had a couple tune-up games before that went really south. And I know Isaiah, somebody mentioned that earlier, but hopefully we can perform well with what we have. And our coach Mauricio seems to be like he's going to do. He said he wants to find some dogs out there, and he wants the guys that want to be there be there. You can ask Pulisic to go. You can ask Des to go. If they don't want to be there, then it's hey, someone else needs to step up. Whether they have the same talent as the other guys, maybe not. But if they have the heart and want to be there, that's who you want on the field. So hopefully we can put out a good performance. But with the World Cup closely approaching, it's not a good state of U.S. soccer right here.
And my biggest concern is that the team that we trot out there in the World Cup, mind you, the biggest soccer tournament in the world, bigger than the Olympics, bigger than Premier League final. It's the biggest soccer tournament in the world. My fear is Team USA is going to trot out who I think you, Rob, you and I think should be out there for the first time together under a new head coach when we're playing for the big one. I get it if you're sitting out for some injuries, but you look at their schedule. They're not going to be together outside of the Gold Cup until the World Cup. We can't have that. I think I agree with you. This is the most, if not the absolute most talented team USA men's soccer's ever put on a pitch. I think we can both agree with that, right? I mean, it's way up there, right?
Yeah, as far as overall talent, it's because most of our starters are playing overseas in a league, either starting or playing pretty regularly, which is very rare to have from a
we've
US.
got the most Premier League players on roster that I think we've ever had, which is an incredible thing for soccer in America. But the attitude and the fight and the grit, 2016 was the grittiest, toughest Team USA. That's the Dempsey, that's the Jermaine Jones, that's the Tim Ream, Tim Howard, Fabian Johnson, Michael Bradley. Like, dude, those dudes wanted to go out there and fight for every inch on that pitch. I don't see it with this. I've got real concerns. I'm even worried that we might not even get out of group play come World Cup, which would be heartbreaking for anybody who enjoys any sort of Team USA related thing. Even if you're a casual, Isaiah, I bet you would still be upset if we didn't make it out of group play, and your following for this is from 10,000 feet away.
I would be pretty rattled up by it, because I will be honest, whenever the World Cup does come around, or like Olympics or whatnot, obviously I'll follow, and I will cheer them on, try and find like a guy or something that I really like, to kind of get excited about it. But at the same time, I rarely get my hopes up when it comes to USA soccer. I feel like ever since I've been alive, really, it's always been, well, just give us a couple more years. Just a couple more years. Like, we're on the track, like, we're starting to figure it out, like, it was always, we need to develop the development team, got to get some young guys in here. Now we're starting to get young guys in, and it just feels like we keep moving the field goal posts further and further. It's always constantly a new excuse that's popping up.
And dude, Germany, Argentina, England, Brazil, they only got better. And it feels like we didn't. And now this has happened. And there's so much other bullshit behind the scenes with Pulisic's dad and all this. Where's Landon Donovan? Where's Tim Howard to step in and get involved with Team USA and run this fucking thing and get this team right? I know I don't want to put it on them because they gave a lot to Team USA soccer. But now it's time to take an administrative role and step the fuck in and get these boys right. Because I tell you what, if we don't get out of group play, I might bail on Team USA soccer, which fucking sucks.
I would never bail on my fucking red, white, and blue, baby. But
they try out there and get their dicks kicked in. I'm for sure. Baby.
The problem I have with that is all these. Since we're hosting it, we have an automatic qualification for the World Cup. As with these other countries in Asia and obviously Europe and stuff like that, they're having qualification games right now. So what that tells you is they're trotting out their starting lineup. They're trying to make the World Cup. They're getting that cohesion. They're getting, especially under a new coach, you just can't stress how much soccer you got to have that feel for each other, because you're not playing with each other on the club teams, right? It's you're playing in different countries and things like that. And the Gold Cup would have been a perfect example for us to put that on stage of what we can and get the excitement going to roll over into the World Cup. But with that not there, it's just, I mean, hoping for the best. I just wish that passion was there, because when Christian came on the scene, when Pulisic came on the scene, when he was 17, 18 years old, when he pulled up his shirt and it had I think it was man in the mirror. And then he had those classic games against Mexico, which in years past, Mexico's just always had the upper hand. And all of a sudden we're winning against Mexico. And it's like, okay, we're moving in the right direction. And then we get these other cats to flip their citizenship to USA. And we're like, damn, we're going to have some talent on this roster just for that talent not to be on the roster.
Yep.
So I hope we can put it all together. Fuck, man. Go USA.
I sure fucking hope so.
Okay, guys. Last piece, or last segment, I guess, if you want to call it. Our NFL team preview. We'll finish up the AFC North here tonight. So we got Pittsburgh and Cleveland left. I'll run through the additions and departures and draft picks, but for both teams, and we can kind of throw them both together here, because I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time on the Cleveland Browns because. So Pittsburgh finished 10-7, second in the division last year. A lot of changes over there. DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers, Darius Slay, Kenneth Gainwell are all in. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Najee Harris, and George Pickens are gone. Draft picks, they got Derek Herman, D tackle from Oregon, Caleb Johnson, running back from Iowa, Jack Sawyer, D end from Ohio State, along with taking Will Howard, the quarterback from Ohio State. That's kind of a developmental pick later. And then for Cleveland, finished last year 3-14. Wheels absolutely fell off. Nothing much else. Obviously finished last in the division. They brought in Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Malik Collins, lost Nick Chubb and Elijah Moore. I will say I did like a lot of their picks in the draft. Kenneth Grant at number 5, Carson Herb, help me out.
Hold on, roll back.
Carson.
You mean Mason Graham in the first?
Oh shit, my bad. Yeah.
Easy now. Hey, listen, I understand they're both.
Hey, he should have been a third, bro.
Shit, my bad.
Wow, that's a hot little take. Are you talking about Carson Schwarzenegger?
Yes, thank you. Linebacker from UCLA. Quentin Judkins, running back from Ohio State. Harold Fannin, tight end from Bowling Green. And then their confusing picks of both Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders at the quarterback position. But starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's going to be going into this season. It's going to be, I think, the best way you can frame it is what if, or not what if, but can Aaron Rodgers turn back the clock a couple seasons and lead them to a deep playoff run? Because I think there is a very limited history of quarterbacks once they hit the age of 40 outside of Tom Brady that have really been able to better the team that they're on, right? They're more so winning in spite of them rather than because of them. And I do think DK can be a good fit for the type of play style Aaron likes to play. But I just, regardless of those moves, I just don't think it's enough in that division that is always very, very good outside of Cleveland. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I'll just preface this by saying I think I will have the Bengals finish above the Steelers.
All right, boys. My take on the Steelers, obviously we can kick it off there. I think you got rid of some sort of a locker room, kind of just a mishap with George Pickens. You really didn't know what to expect with there. I think losing Najee Harris is a bigger deal than what people think. Maybe he didn't go out and give you Saquon like numbers, but he could get you 1,000 yards easily. And I think he started. I might be wrong in this, but he started pretty much every game for the Steelers. So when it comes to a running back position, I think we don't put enough respect on that as it is. But adding DK, I think that's a big move. I like it. Over George Pickens. I really don't know what to expect with the other part of the offense. I read yesterday that they're expecting Jaylen Warren to kind of beef up his numbers as far as being the overall bell cow of that offense, with obviously Caleb Johnson coming in. But overall, I mean, my take on the Steelers is I do like the addition of Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if he's going to give you that much of a bump over what Russell Wilson gave you. If that makes sense. I think the Steelers will rely on that defense like they always have in years past to get them where they need to be. But for me, I think we see a similar year out of Pittsburgh. I think Mike Tomlin knows how to go above 500. I wouldn't be surprised. They're going to win some trash games against Cleveland, some battles with Cincinnati. I think they pull out 8 to 10 wins, 10 being the highest, 8 being the lowest, 9 being the middle ground. That's just how I see the Steelers. Just kind of, I don't think they got tremendously better, but I don't think they got tremendously worse. We'll see how they do.
The Steelers, for me, it's all based around that quarterback, and that's what everybody's talking about. I think they should have never let Fields go. I think Fields could have been successful there. Now, I think Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields for this season, it's kind of give and take what you like there. For the long term, I would like to see Fields stay. I worry about the offensive weapons. Like the defense, the Steelers' defense is going to be the Steelers' defense. And by the way, don't be surprised when Jack Sawyer's a starter by the middle of the season over Alex Highsmith. I hate saying about an Ohio State guy, but the kid's got a motor. The kid can play. On the offensive side, I worry about the weapons in which they've chosen for Aaron Rodgers to throw to. While the DK connection is there, I mean, you're looking at Calvin Austin and Robert Woods as the 2 and the 3.
The bad 2 and the 3, bro.
I know it. You don't have a number 1 running back. You can sit here and tell me Jaylen Warren's the guy.
No,
or Caleb Johnson could become the guy.
Be Caleb Johnson.
They're saying lately it's Jalen. He beefed up and he's ready to be the bell cow, but I have no idea.
That's what they're saying, right? I don't think Jaylen Warren's a number 1 in this league. I think he's a very solid number 2. I do like that they mixed up a power guy with Jaylen Warren, bringing in Caleb. I worry about the weapons. Now, there's been a lot of trade talk about getting Jonnu. If they add Jonnu, that changes it some. I don't think it's super dramatic. But then you've at least got 2 really solid pass catchers in Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith at the tight end spot. And we all know how much that Aaron Rodgers loves a tight end. We all know how much he loves a tight end. So my concerns for the Steelers are they going to be able to move the ball around? Are they going to be able to run the ball to open up the play action for Aaron, which he is so legendary for? I don't see it yet.
And that's if Aaron Rodgers is able to move this season.
Correct. If not, they're looking at Mason Rudolph as their guy.
Yeah, I guess that's my biggest concern with Pittsburgh. It's really going to be Aaron Rodgers' health and whether or not he can get back to where he was 2-3 years ago before that Achilles injury. Because I think we've talked about it in previous episodes where last season they barely ran any play action out in New York because he was just so limited from a mobility standpoint. And on top of that, now being in Pittsburgh, their offensive line, I have a coworker who is a huge Steelers fan, and he has nothing but negative things to say about the Steelers offensive line. And it's been like that for years now. I know that they got a couple of new names in there, but until they go out there and prove it, that's going to be a concern. And I know you guys have touched on the defense kind of most likely carrying this team throughout the season. The one thing I do want to bring up or highlight is, or a situation to monitor, is TJ Watt and that contract dispute that's going on right now.
Still unsigned.
Because I didn't think much of it going into this offseason, but it seems like they're kind of in a stalemate right now, and they're kind of waiting to see who will blink first. And I don't know how much leverage Watt has at this point, because I don't think this is the last year of his deal. I think he has a couple years left still, but it'll be interesting to see if Pittsburgh bends the knee just to get him into the building, knowing how important he is to the grand scheme of that defense.
They absolutely should. He is the face of their franchise. Why do we continually have these fucking conversations about NFL? I mean, about these NFL teams not paying the right guys. Suck it the fuck up and pay TJ Watt. Who else are you going to pay? Fucking pay TJ Watt. Out of anybody on that goddamn defense, pay TJ Watt.
Before we move on, I didn't mention this, but I do like some names to look out for. It looks like Derek Harmon, their pick for their pick out of Oregon, the end. He's projected to
wild fucking West over here.
He's projected to start for them, and then he is an Iowa player, but he is getting a lot of love up there in Pittsburgh. I think it's Yaya Black. A guy that's going to come in kind of maybe under a Cameron Hayward, who we all know is getting a little older, been in the league since 2011. But with Patrick Queen and obviously TJ, I'm sure they'll figure it out. That defense is Yona defense, man, and the offense just has to do enough to keep them in games. I know you guys haven't gave your projections yet, but I don't think we're going to see a losing season for Steelers here.
Hey, but Tomlin's going to keep that 500 record or that streak going. I have no doubt in my mind about that.
I don't know. I really want to say 8 and 9. That's where I keep going. 8 and 9 just.
Hey, don't put some respect on Mike Tomlin's name. Been doing a long time. 500 streak keeps up.
I know. I don't know. I really like the other teams in that division. And I'm just not sold on Aaron Rodgers. I'm leaning 8 and 9, third place finish in the AFC North.
I think they're battling the Bengals 2-3 in there. Wouldn't shock me if they would finish third.
Man, but they're finishing at worst 9 and 8 for you.
Yeah, at worst.
Okay, Cleveland Browns. Let's speed run it. You ready? They're dog shit.
Stink.
Continue to be dog shit. I have nothing. The only good thing I have to say about that organization is Kevin Stefanski is a good coach who has just been continually let down by the roster construction. And that Deshaun Watson contract and trade will continue to haunt that franchise for the foreseeable future. I think we all agree that is the worst trade and then contract in NFL history with how it's shaken out. And they just kind of have to live with that one at this point, which means another couple years of futility, in my opinion. I will say I think Judkins is going to be a really good running back. If you were able to snag him in dynasty drafts, I think he is going to be a RB2 at a minimum. But I could really see him being a bell cow there this season and getting a lot of run. Outside of that, they're going to need him to get a lot of run because I don't know what fucking receivers they even have on that team anymore at this point.
Hey, put some respect on David Bell and Caden Davis.
Exactly. Cedric Tillman, he's still on the team, right?
He's technically their number 2.
Yeah, and see, concerns. Like, you already have a smorgasbord of quarterback options. You have no idea who you're going to start. And then you're going to throw him out there, and his number 2 receiver is going to be Cedric Tillman. Who's their number 1 right now?
Jerry Judy,
Jerry
baby.
Judy, baby.
Oh, okay, I forgot about Judy, but he drops the ball like there's butter on his hands. So yeah, I, nothing good to say. Miles Garrett is really good at football. I will say that.
I think for me, and then obviously Herb, you can wrap it up. I don't have much to say about the Browns. I will preface it with this: is I'll always say is bad teams make bad decisions. Um, I'm looking at the roster. I'm looking at the depth chart. I don't know the direction of this team right now. On the depth chart, at least, is Joe Flacco's listed as number one. You re-sign Miles Garrett, sure. I just I like Jerry Judy. I really do. I think I'm a Jerry Judy fan. I kind of came around to him last year with him and Jameis Winston in some of those games. I like the Harold Fannin draft pick out of Bowling Green. A lot of people didn't want to, make the leap and get him, but they did. And then obviously Mason Graham. We all saw the OTA and the effort concerns, and just as he ready. Obviously, he's projected to start on the D line. The only thing I'll add is having 6, 7, 8 QBs on the roster competing. I guess I don't think that's good. I will say healthy competition is good for a locker room, but not when it's 7 dudes deep, bro. I just think that there needs to be some leadership, and I think Joe Flacco obviously can provide that. I've seen some videos where it seems like he is the guy that's trying to lead in that offense, which is great.
Hey, he is elite, Rob. Joe Flacco's elite.
I wouldn't go that far.
Always has been, always will be.
I still wouldn't go that far, but I don't. You drafted Dylan Gabriel pretty early. You got him, and then you waited to the fifth, sixth round, and went Josh Shador. I just don't know the direction of this team, whether the coach is a good coach or not. I think the GM and owner just make terrible decisions. And you chose to re-sign Miles Garrett for what?
$1 billion.
You chose him to sign him. Were you a Miles Garrett re-signing away from winning the division? No. If I were them, I would have tried to go in some sort of a rebuild mode and actually start something good up there. But I'll end it with they're dog shit. Bad teams make bad decisions. Browns finished last in the division.
By a long shot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm talking they might win total. They might squeak out 3 wins somehow, some way, but that's kind of where I'm at with them. I just have no direction. I don't know what to expect. That defense could, for some reason, be lights out, but that offense is going to definitely lose them some games.
I don't disagree with either of you that they will finish dead last in the division. They will be one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in football. I'm gonna sing a few praises of the Cleveland Browns just so we can get a little bit of level-headedness out of this bunch. Number one, outside of the quarterback draft picks, I loved their draft. Outside of the quarterbacks, loved their draft. I think Harold Fannin is going to be a volume catch guy. I think Judkins and Sampson out of Tennessee, Judkins out of Ohio State. I'm not going to be shocked in week 2 when they're the 1 and the 2 and Jerome Ford finds himself holding a clipboard on the sideline. Because I don't think Jerome Ford's him by any means. The concerns around quarterback, if I'm the GM, here's what I'm doing. Flacco's the day 1 starter. Pickett, congrats, you're a free agent. Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders, we're going to be looking about week 5, 6. You guys are going to figure it out. One of you guys is going to play, and we're just going to ride that wave. But the problem is they have now set themselves up for next year when they own the first overall pick that they're not going to be able to take a quarterback because they have Shador and Dylan Gabriel on roster. Like, feasibly, you cannot take a quarterback next year when you own the number 1 pick. The other highlight, I'm going to tell you this, they have a pretty solid offensive line. So whoever they do have back there, I think is going to have some time. My only question out of their whole offensive line right now is their left guard, Joel Bitonio, who is aging. He's a solid guard. He's a vet guy. He's crafty. But there's some questions there. But I'll praise their line. I think they've got a really, really solid O-line. And then they drafted they went out in free agency and I think got 3 more depth linemen that can kind of be really versatile and play a bunch of different spots. So if I'm sitting here as a Browns fan, I'm not worried about our O-line. I got that going for me. But other than that, yeah, I think they are going to finish dead last and be a bad team this year.
I do want to add before we move along and wrap it up is Herb put me on to Dylan Sampson prior to the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited.
Preach on it, baby. Preach on it.
I think he's 5'8", somewhere around there. Just a guy that has a motor. I wish him success up there in Cleveland. I hope he does work himself into the rotation. Also, they fucked over Baker, bro. If
Yep, and that will curse them until the day that franchise ceases. Don't get me started on that, Rob.
Obviously, you're a huge Baker fan. I'm not as high of him, but I just think if you have a quarterback up there winning games for you, high regarded, first round pick, and then you just go and move on and give, half a Brinks truck to Deshaun Watson just to be clubbing wherever he's clubbing at right now. It just doesn't. That's just that's that contract that we're all going to reference when we talk about the NFL and these contracts of one of the worst signings money wise in NFL history. Just has to be.
You reap what you sow. You gave a brink truck, like you said, to an alleged sexual deviant with real criminal charges against him. And you gave up Baker, who, what did Baker do for you? Oh, he only took you to your first playoffs since Jesus Christ walked the earth. Okay? They were doing fucking State Farm commercials in the fucking Brown Stadium. Who gives a shit about the Brown Stadium? Until you realize, oh, Baker's doing commercials where he's living in the place. That was fun. Baker's electric. He was electric. May the Browns be cursed till their dying days because of that trade alone. Forget Brandon Weeden. Forget Johnny Manziel. Forget all that shit. You did this to yourself, Cleveland, so reap what you fucking sow.
I think that is a perfect place to end today's episode. Thank you all for listening to Don't Quote Us Sports. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to tell somebody to give us a listen. And make sure to drop any feedback on the socials. I'd love to interact with you guys. But thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Hell yeah.
Bye.